Welcome to the Asshole Book Club, or Tab, as I may or may not change the name to. I don't know. Something I'm toying around with in my brain. I'm doing 2 more RPG horror story posts, and this time I will be looking for either medium or short stories because the extra long fried my brain. Alright. Let's see. Main character syndrome player tries to slay a whole city on his own because against the party's wishes, because he didn't like that he took damage. Player continued doubling down, which led to their death, as well as many other things. I'll try that. This says medium, so I'm hoping that it is indeed not super duper long. No. I will not download the stupid app. Okay. So I am really torn about this right now. I just finished DMing a session for a weekly, and the party was fighting a battle, and one of my players that has a pet wasn't utilizing his pet at all, so I pointed it out. The player said, "Do you want me to be more reckless then?" I said, "Do whatever is most fun for you." Come the end of the combat, and a giant powerful beast the party was seeking out helped them finish off the last enemy. Tensions were high because he wasn't a friend or a foe either. After some convincing, the beast asked them to follow. They reached a crossroad where the beast and tribesmen ordered them to put on handcuffs to proceed into the tribe. The party wasn't so happy to do this, but 3 of them put on the cuffs. The same player from before was being extra difficult and doubled down when the beast and the tribe ordered them over and over again. The party was given a choice to put on the cuffs or leave. I can't say this enough, but they were ordered to put them on many, many times. The player continued doubling down and reached into her inventory and offered the beast some candy. The beast moved its giant mouth to her hand and bit her arm all the way to her shoulder and ripped it off. Even after that, she kept insisting on not putting the cuffs on or leaving. Well, she can't put the cuffs on now. One of her arms is gone. Handcuffs are a little pointless if you don't have 2 arms to cuff together. This turned into a fight. The party had some ritualistic items on them, which ended up letting them summon a giant beast to fight the other one. I ended up making the beast they summoned do an AoE attack that killed the players that didn't back down. It also killed another player, but I decided that I didn't want to make the party pay the price for the stupidity of another player, so I Deus Ex Machina the other player. This should have been a TPK by all means, but I didn't want to kill them for the actions of a single player. Now that all the party ran away with the exception of the dead player, we discussed things and we aren't sure if we're retconning or continuing. The reason I'm typing this is that I'm not sure if I want to boot the player that let all this happen. They said they don't care and that they may or may not do this again. They said that they just wanted to test how far I would go if she pushed me after I told her how she could have her pet attack more. So she took the reckless thing about combat into social stuff. I'm torn on what to do with the player right now. It is easy to boot her since her player character is dead, but at the same time, I'm not sure if this is the right choice. I know I could have handled it better, or maybe saying they force her character to wait outside. but it felt like that was the right action. Update, the player decided to leave and just announced it, so I guess there's that. Well, honestly, I think you made the wrong move there. Like, you could have just made the person wait outside, or you could have let them be brought in with only one arm, since handcuffs are useless at that point. But, it's kind of railroady to completely kill off their character and turn their own summon against them. Like, I don't know, you're not letting your players explore other options to go about things. Like, you're forcing them to do one thing or die, which isn't very fun or interesting. See what the comments have to say. When a path can only go forward or backwards, it's at least like a railroad. No, it is a railroad. Railroads have two directions. Trains can go backwards. You gave the party an ultimatum. The thing is, it's irrational for a non-ally to demand the entire party to shackle themselves. It's an insane demand if there's no trust between them. You missed an opportunity as the DM. You missed a moment as the DM to consider a reasonable alternative so the group could move the story forward, simply because of one PC declined to do something objectively unwise. You could have considered the PC's reluctance and said they'll put guards near you, and if you don't cause trouble, things will be fine. A reasonable precaution on both sides that doesn't hinge on the player characters handcuffing themselves. Your insistence that the PCs be shackled has a janky and a bad way vibe. How you responded to the refusal that you as a DM would not find or accept a reasonable compromise, it sounds like you got mad that you were told no. And they were trying to befriend the beast and ended up getting their arm ripped off anyway. So yeah, you're just kind of a railroady DM, and it lost you a player. So I know this isn't an Am I the Asshole post, but you are an asshole. Sorry to tell you. And once again, the party summoned their own monster, and you had it damage them and kill one of their people. So yeah, kind of a dick move. Let's see. Hmm. Our DM promised us a mystery. No, that one says long. I already read a medium. I saw one. Give me a second. Fine. I left a campaign because I wasn't allowed to speak multiple languages. This one doesn't say long or medium, it says lighthearted. That's kind of long. Okay, this happened a few years ago now, but I've decided to share it since my TTRPG experience has been pretty great since. It was my first ever time playing D&D, and I got invited by quite literally a friend of a friend. Okay, phrase that weird. In this specific situation, this girl, let's call her Sarah, invited my best friend, I'll call her Haley, and I to join her friend David's new campaign he wanted to start. The players were Sarah, Haley, and myself, and one other girl who could only join us every few sessions due to a busy work schedule. She's not important, and David was going to be the DM. Now, there's two things to note here. This was not only Haley and I's first time playing, but our first ever interaction with D&D. We knew nothing about it. Hadn't watched anything explaining the game, nothing, total newbie. which the other players and the DM were aware of and okay with. We live in an area that is mostly French-speaking, but Haley and I are both bilingual. So for the 20 years we've known each other, we've often spoken with each other using both French and English, sometimes switching between both languages in the middle of a sentence. Oh. Well, automatically I misinterpreted the title of this story because I thought your DM wasn't letting your character be bilingual, but he's not letting you be bilingual, is what I'm picking up from this. That's stupid. Alright. The sessions were going to happen over Zoom call since we lived in a different city. In the group chat we created, David welcomed us and then immediately told us we needed to create characters. He did not tell us how to do such a task, but sent us the PDF version of the player's handbook, which was in English, by the way, important for later, and said to DM him with questions if needed. Now, as most of you know, the player's handbook is pretty extensive and very overwhelming to newcomers, so you can imagine my best friend and I were left a little shocked with the lack of directions. We did our best and created characters that we were proud of. Well, automatically that's a red flag. If you have new players and you're running a game as the DM, you should at the very least walk them through character creation step by step. Like, creating a character is not that hard. For our first session, session 0, Haley came over to my place so we could do the Zoom call together and maybe help each other out. David would lead us through the rest of our character creations by making us roll our stats. He would tell us which dice to roll, not explaining why we were rolling it. Make us tell him our number, and he would tell us what to write where in a very robotic voice. Yet again, never explaining what it was or why we were doing it. I tried asking him more questions, but he'd brushed it off, saying we'd come back to that later, and we never did. Jeez. After our character sheet was filled, we went right into the story. He didn't explain anything else and told us to just act and do things as our character and would get mad if we didn't answer or acted quickly enough. Keep in mind, the game was being played in French. We were all speaking French with each other, but this process was so extremely confusing to Haley and I since nothing was being explained to us, so every time we got confused, we'd sometimes ask questions to each other using our normal way of speaking, aka a mix of French and English. And that would absolutely piss off the DM. Okay. He kept saying we were in a French area, therefore we should all be speaking French, and we need to stop saying things in English. The hell? Now, I would understand, somewhat because I think it's stupid either way. It could be frustrating for him to have a foreign language spoken at his table if he didn't understand it himself. But we knew he could speak, understand, and read English because the only information he sent us, which was the player's manual, was written in English. And on top of that, we never spoke to him in English ever, only to each other, as it has become a habit for us. His DMing style was just him telling us what to do all the time, and his superiority complex eventually tired me out. I lasted 3 sessions of having him remind us every 10 minutes about how great French was and how lucky we were to live in a beautiful French area. And getting annoyed if words in English were said, which again, our character sheets were also written in English. Anyway, looking back on this now, it feels so incredibly stupid and pointless. Clearly, he had issues. I did not engage with D&D again for 2 years until I started watching videos and live streams of people playing TTRPGs, and I now run my own homebrew campaigns for my friends, Haley included, and run them in English with French or any other language comments at or with French or any other language welcome at my table. And the top comment was someone asking if anyone else had the same assumption same assumption as them as that the title was going to be related to character creation, which I did. I wasn't expecting someone to just not allow other people to speak more than one language. That's just bizarre. And honestly, good for you that you quit and eventually went on to run your own campaigns. Glad things are working out for you. That's it for the stories today. Leave a comment down below what you thought. And yeah, I'm still a little under the weather, so sorry if I look a bit out of it. But hey, thanks for watching if you made it this far, and have a good day, everyone. See you later.